Dimensional paints and Gemstones and some Minx. I just love their products. I love the texture. I love how thick it is, and it's so much fun to work with. So this is what the layout looks like. So we'll get started here. So when I do layouts, I always have a backing. So I'll start with cutting that out. And when I cut, I always leave about, I cut about 1/8 of an inch off, so that way if these layouts are going into your scrapbook album, they will fit in the plastic sleeve, protective sleeves. Let me just stress this real quick. Both these papers are from My Mind's Eye. Okay, so I'm going to use acrylic gesso. This is where it starts to get messy. And I always cover my whole page. Sometimes I use clear gesso, but I'm running low right now. So if you haven't used Art Anthology products, their dimensional paints, you need to try some of those. They are so awesome. Okay, it's going to get noisy with my computer. Okay, so I'm trying to remember which spray I used first. Okay, I'm going to use the Colorations and this color is called Salmon. Nice. So I dry in between colors. To use the Minx, and this is called Enchanting. This is really, really pretty, and it's really what do you call it, highly pigmented. I think so you could drop these, use the droplet, or you can put it in a spray bottle and, oh dear, dilute it with some water. But look at that color, isn't that pretty? Trying to remember how I did this page, and I just did it last night. Okay. Give it another spray with the salmon. To use the Colorations French Toast. Okay, here's the fun part. So I'm going to use Art Anthology's 6x6 stencil, and this one is called Bubbles. Oh boy, this is where I need to get my paper plate, my fancy plate here. And I used 3 different and I cannot remember which ones I used. So I think I used the velvet, and this one's called Cotton Candy. And I used another velvet, and this is called Fiesta. And Gemstones, and this is Rhodolite. So you might want to have a bunch of baby wipes. They're really good for wiping this off your spatula or off the stencils. Aren't these yummy? Look at the, my favorite color is blue, but these colors are just amazing. I love them. And look at that. I had no idea what I was going to do with this page, but I just started spraying away and getting out the dimensional paint and just started playing around. So what I did was kind of taking almost all 3 colors on the spatula and just running it. This is probably going to turn out different, but this is the basic idea of what I did. Get the baby wipe. I wish I had a piece of paper ready. I could start my art journal, but I don't, so I'll just have to wipe it off. Okay. So then I'm going to dry that off with the heating tool. I know what I did. So after I used the stencil, I went and just kind of blended it a little bit. These paints are so much fun to work with. I need to learn to do some painting with it too on canvas. Okay, so let's try it. what I love about their paints, the velvets and sorbets, they dry the gemstones. They dry fast for them being pretty thick. So I'm going to put this aside and color the ribbon, the trim. I didn't do this on the layout. I just did it afterwards because I didn't like how white it was, so I just used my fingers and see how dry that's already dry. Let's see it. I think I put it on the wrong side. So if you don't want your fingers all dirty, you need to wear some gloves because these are highly pigmented and it'll wash off eventually here during the day after you're done with your project. But right now, look at that. Okay, so we'll let that dry. I think this is one of my new favorite colors. And let's get the page back out. And we're going to use the 6x6 Art Anthology's Blossom stencil. Oh dear, it's not quite all the way dry. Let me give it a one step I usually do before I put the gesso on is use my decorative scissors so that I can go back and distress and it'll make it easier. Okay. Well, one of them is not drying very well. Okay. Just trying to figure out what color I used on with the blossom, and it's the Persimmon. Oh my gosh, I can't even say it. Persimmon. Oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna try. Persimmon. That's it. Okay, so I just did a few spots with the blossom stencil. I can't even see it after I did it on my first page, so I'll try to make it more visible here. So let's try that. I think it's the, what did I just have? Oh, the velvet for some reason didn't dry as fast this time. It's dry now. Okay, so one more time I'm going to use the dots. And I'm going to use the Sorbet linen. I don't know, maybe you say sorbet. I don't know. So this has a lot of glitter in it. Usually I have a tub of water, a container of water on my desk for after I use the stencils. I throw them in there so they don't dry out. But I'm not using modeling paste this time, and I need to use these more than once. Okay. So we're going to dry this. I think I'm going to give a couple more sprays here. That was the French toast and salmon. did forget one place for the blossom. Let me do that real quick. I love this stencil. It's really pretty. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but it doesn't show white, but there is glitter on there, and I love that. And okay, so next we'll start, I'll put down the trim. I'll have to trim that off. One more thing I need to do is make the big circles, and this is what I did because I didn't know what else to use, and I wanted circles on there, so I'm going to use the Rhodolite, and I'm using the cap of my button container. What I did is just went around Don't you love that? You can use what you have at home. And then I'll apply some more. That away. Okay. And there's one last thing I need to do with spraying, and that is using the Colorations, and this one is called Ice, and there's no color to it, but it has some glitter in it. Just makes it sparkle. So I just sprayed it. You won't be able to see it right now, but once it's dry and you put it in the light, you'll be able to see the sparkle. I'm going to give it a quick dry. Okay, look at my fingers. So now I'm going to cut my backing pieces. Move this out of the way for a minute. And I am using Prima's Tales of You and Me. And this is one of my favorite collections to play with. And these are from my scrap pile, so it's always a plus to use from your scrap pile. I'm just going to make this into a big tag, and then I'll distress all of them after I'm done cutting them. Distress them real quick. Actually, I have one more piece to cut. Okay, get some twine. Okay, I think they're all ready. I should glue this. And I forgot to distress the edges. So to straighten out the page a little bit, before I start adding more, I always run it on the edge of my desk. Just flatten it, I mean. So I'm going to try distressing just a little bit here. Now we're ready to put the backing on. One more piece I forgot. Here's scrap pieces of a box to prop it up a little bit, give it some dimension. I think that one's a little longer than the where my picture is. Oh dear, I forgot about the beads. And these are stickers from the Tales of You and Me paper pet. Okay, for the beads, I always use gel medium. These are just some pretty pink beads. And then one more thing to do, and I think the page is done. And I forgot to color a piece of burlap. I sprayed it with the French Toast Colorations. And then I think I used the Rhodolite. Okay, let me show you what both pages look like, and they are pretty close. So I'll have close-up pictures of the layout, and if you haven't tried Art Anthology products, I think you should try them because you will fall in love with them. They are awesome to work with. They're thick, they're vibrant in colors, and they have a ton of choices. Thank you for joining me, and stay tuned for more projects.